Jungkook closes the door behind him and walks to the counter, looking around to see where he should start. There's a whole shift ahead of him before, with any luck, he can spare 20 minutes for dinner before heading to the moth. And even if he really wants to, Jungkook does not have time to become limp and allow himself another weakness. He doesn't even have time to sleep, simply because he has to survive. Once again. It's nearly evening. Jungkook sighs, looking up from his textbook, and closes his eyes, massaging them to ward off the tiredness and that nasty stabbing sensation from lack of sleep. It's like sand in his eyes, and Jungkook would not mind if he was buried in the sand, to be honest. There's just no time for it. The boy sips coffee, brewed for himself at the expense of the establishment, looks around the coffee shop. Only a few tables are occupied, and Jungkook is not needed at any of them, and shifts his gaze to the large window. Dusk is coming early, and now, in the light of street lamps and the endless glare of car headlights, mixing with the yellow light in the windows and shop fronts, he notices that it is snowing again on the street. Jungkook watches as the dark, wet asphalt is slowly getting covered with a translucent white sheet that will most likely be gone by the next morning. He looks at the people scurrying down the street, trying to get shelter from the unexpected weather, and he thinks about what Yoongi had said. He thinks that every second of these passers-by is probably almost as unhappy as he is. They also cope with problems. They also worry about their families and take on their shoulders much more than they can handle. Jungkook thinks about how many people as unhappy as himself he meets every day, and how many of them he looks into the eyes, not knowing what is hidden behind them. And he wished he had more compassion. But then he once again looks into the eyes of the ones like Kim Taehyung, jaded bastards, really living life as if anything could be their entertainment, and the hatred returns. Because sometimes it seems to Jungkook that no one could have as hard a time as it is hard for him. Jungkook thinks that he is the most miserable person in the world, because then it would mean that he has the right to be weaker than the rest, because it is more and more difficult to stay strong each time when there is no hint that everything can get better. And Jungkook only wants to be given the right to be weak and not worry about anything. He sniffs his slightly cold nose and takes another sip of coffee before looking down at his textbook. An hour and a half before closing, and then he would have time to eat dinner before he had to take a shower and go to the club. The only thing left to do is to be patient. With luck, the boy won't even have to stay until morning, and then he can get some sleep before tomorrow's university classes. So Jungkook tells himself he can handle it. Anyway, does he have a choice to not to? He loses himself in yet another management textbook, occasionally taking notes and distracting himself by cleaning tables until he is alone. The coffee shop is empty, and it takes Jungkook a moment to notice. But when the silence is broken by the sound of the door opening, Jungkook finds himself almost falling asleep, sitting over his textbook and propping his head on his hand. And everything he's read in the last 15 minutes suddenly becomes meaningless because he doesn't remember a single line. Why is it so empty in here? A familiar voice makes him tense up a little. Jungkook lifts his head, blinking his eyes once more to drive fatigue away, and stifles a yawn when he meets his boss's gaze. "Good evening, Mr. Park." Jungkook ignores his assessing gaze, and the man smiles. Jungkook, here you're again, honey." The man sets down some box he brought with him on an empty table and walks over to the counter. "How are you?" "I, thank you, sir. It's all right." The boy nods shyly, and then awkwardly closes his textbook, not forgetting to put a bookmark where he left off. He doesn't go away from Hanbin's gaze. Are you studying? He quirks an eyebrow with a grin. I have exams next week, sir. I'm sorry, I sometimes do reading when there's no work. It's okay, the man shrugs, waving his hand away. I don't care what you do here. The main thing is that you serve customers when they're here. Other than that, keep that hole clean. Luckily, Jungkook thinks, this jerk at least realizes what a hole this place is. But before Jungkook can say anything, Mr. Park changes the subject. You have to close the shop in 15 minutes, don't you? Jungkook gets lost as he glances at the time and notices that it really is time. God, has he really been doing this for so long? Yes, sir, you are right. Yes. I think I'll start cleaning now, and, wait a minute, Hanbin laughs, raising his hand and urging Jungkook to stop. First of all, make me some coffee, okay? It's still 15 minutes before closing. What if someone comes? Yes, sir. For you, as usual. I'm glad you already remembered. With a wink, Hanbin lets out a chuckle and slowly takes off his coat. Jungkook is distracted preparing a warming drink and, for good or for bad, Mr. Park doesn't say anything else to him. He just walks around the small coffee shop, looking for something, and stares thoughtfully at the windows and walls. Jungkook had long since dubbed him a jerk to be surprised at something. Only later, when he's giving the coffee to his boss, does Jungkook start cleaning up the counter. He's washing the coffee machine, adjusting the contents of the refrigerators, cleaning all exposed surfaces, and is about to take off his apron when the man's voice stops him again. Are you done? Yes, sir, Jungkook nods, pursing his lips. Can I go now? The closing time has passed. Hanbin grins out of the corner of his mouth before leaving his coffee cup as he rises from the table and walks to the door. Jungkook swallows nervously as the click of the lock resounds through the room, closed from the inside. Mr. Park, it's great that you've already finished. The man turns back and smiles at him. Because I have something else for you to do. Jungkook feels his chest tighten. Too crazy. Perverted bosses is too much on the scale of one. Unfortunate Jungkook, Mr. Park, I'm sorry, but my work day is over and I haven't finished yet. The man interrupts a little louder, but still smiling. So, he goes to one of the tables, where he left the box at the very beginning, and removes the lid from it. Christmas is coming very soon, and everything looks too dull in here. So I brought the decorations. On your own. Jungkook can't help but chuckle. Apparently, this is another manifestation of the difference between Park and Kim, which Jungkook does not get tired of holding in his head. He somehow knows that Mr. Kim would certainly never bring the decorations himself. Yes, Hanbin, ignoring the chuckle, nudges the box a little. And you have to decorate everything here. Excuse me, the boy raises an eyebrow. Why me? Why don't you leave it to the morning shift? Because I said it should be you. And until you decorate everything in here, I'm not letting you go home. But you can't. My shift is over. I'll pay overtime. Don't you worry. The man shrugs. Now start, please. There are quite a lot of decorations in this box. And besides that, you still need to hang garlands on the windows and the door. So the sooner you start, the sooner you finish. Jungkook. Hanbin smiles as he sits back down at the table and goes back to his coffee. Jungkook has already mentioned today that he wants to kill himself, right? Because death looks very attractive to him right now. When the garland falls for the third time, Jungkook really wants to cry. He's been dealing with those stupid lights for 40 minutes, and they just don't want to stick to the window. And so far, Jungkook has no idea how to fix this stupid situation. It doesn't stick, he declares wearily, standing on a small step ladder by the window, and turns to the man, holding a tangled glowing garland in his hands. In no way. I've tried attaching it in a variety of ways. May I move on to other decorations, Mr. Park? The garland can be done by Yoongi in the morning shift. I think I made myself clear when I told you earlier that you weren't going anywhere until you had decorated everything here. Jungkook exhales noisily as he turns back to the window and swallows the lump of resentment in his throat. He'd already wasted time that he could have spent eating dinner. But if he does not cope with the decorations in an hour, then he can say goodbye to his second job altogether. And no matter how much Jungkook curses Mr. Kim, he cannot lose it. This is the only thing that so far helps him stay afloat and saves his family. So Jungkook counts to 10, swallows his tears without letting them out, and picks up the garland again. Nearly half an hour passes before the phone vibrates in his pocket. Mr. Kim, I informed Andy that there were changes in the schedule of the show. You will dance for me at the start of your shift. I'm having a tough day, so I'll be at the club soon. Please don't piss me off today, baby. Jungkook reads the message twice before slipping his phone back into his pocket without answering it all. Kim Taehyung, Hanbin Park, and countless of his jobs. Jungkook wants to cry and then get on the train and just go back home. But he knows he can't let down his mom and little sisters. He knows that no one will take care of them but him. Mr. Park, he calls hesitantly, after finishing off just one garland. He must go to the second window, and that's not counting the door and all the decorations inside that are waiting for him. Jungkook knows he won't make it, even if he tries really hard. Mr. Park, please, I need to go home, he decides to ask again, but catches only a cold, unimpressed look of the man. Please, can I leave? Mr. Park, I have no time. I'm going to be late for home, the man chuckles. Don't worry, in that case I'll give you a lift, and he looks down at his phone again, continuing to read something. Jungkook wished he could say he wasn't going home at all. But the less Mr. Park knows about the rest of his life, including being a dancer at Mr. Kim Gentleman's Club, the better. So the boy takes the box with another garland, a pack of fasteners, and goes to another window. Jungkook drags the stepladder to the same place and takes the phone out of his pocket again, feeling another vibration. Mr. Kim, how many times do I have to tell you T-hat you have to answer when I text you? Mr. Kim, hurry up, I'll be there soon. I want you to be ready the time I arrive. Jungkook, I'm sorry, Mr. Kim, but I have to refuse your request. Mr. Kim, a request? Baby, are you forgetting something? I pay money, you do the things I ask you to. These are not requests you can refuse. It's your job. Jungkook, I know, Mr. Kim. But I really can't do it today. I'm sorry. Mr. Kim, you don't have a can't or won't function, Jungkook. You have a work shift. Be kind, follow the orders of your boss. Jungkook, even if I wanted to, Mr. Kim, I still wouldn't be able to. Because right now I'm following orders from my other boss, and he doesn't care that my shift here is already over. Mr. Kim, what? What are you talking about? Jungkook, your friend left me to work at a coffee shop to decorate this hall for the holidays. And he said he won't let me go anywhere until I'm done. So, Mr. Kim, even if I sincerely wanted to dance once again for you today, you would have to wait. I've already been taken away from having dinner and getting home in time to take a shower. Jungkook, now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to work. It was nice to chat. And if you still want to relieve stress, you to watch how Jackson dances. Because I'm not likely to hit the club in the next few hours. Jungkook locks the phone as soon as he sends the last message and puts the phone in his pocket. Now he won't have a guilty conscience for just not showing up for work and pissing off Kim. At the very least, he warned him.